School's starting, the leaves are falling, the temperature is getting colder, so you know what that means. It's fall, my favorite season, sweater weather. It's coming, it's here, so that means we need to talk about packing bulkier clothing. Welcome back, I'm Courtney for Breakaway on a Budget, and today we're talking about fall and winter clothing and how to pack it and what do we need to pack. It's so easy to pack for summer. You just pack some shorts, a couple t-shirts, make sure they're thin. However, we're getting into colder weather. We live in southwestern Pennsylvania where we have the 4 seasons here. It's going to be 60 tomorrow for the high. I love it, it's my favorite season, but this is when it gets hard to pack. So I'm going to give you a few basics about what I always pack when we're traveling for colder temperatures. If you're from somewhere like Florida or southern Texas where it's going to be nice and warm during the winter and not below zero in the teens, then this video is going to be for you. Or it can be a refresher if you are from a cooler state but not cold states. Here in southwest Pennsylvania, like I said, it gets below zero most winters here. Not often, but a few days it does, so you want to be prepared for that. The first tip I have for you is to actually check the weather a few days before you leave. So if you are flying from Florida to, let's say, Maine, that's a huge difference, especially in the winter. It may be in the 60s in Florida and it's going to be below zero in Maine. It's going to be so cold. But you're going to want to pack accordingly. If you're going from, let's say, Florida again to North Carolina, it's not going to be as cold. You're not going to have to pack as many layers. So this is definitely a key in your packing scheme. You want to prepare for your coldest destination. So if you are on a road trip and you're planning on driving all the way up to Lake Michigan, but you're going to drive as far south as Oklahoma, there's going to be 2 different temperatures. And also you want to prepare if you're going to be in the sharp biting wind or if you're going to be in more of a snowy, wet winter. That's going to determine what kind of outer protection that you want to bring along as well. So start with your base layers. I've had so many recommendations for your base layer to be merino wool. I do not own a piece of merino wool, but I really want to get a piece now that I'm hearing so many recommendations for it. I have a thermal layer. I have Under Armour thermals. I have Under Armour leggings that I wear underneath my jeans. They're super stretchy. So I've actually had these for years. And then I do have a long sleeve top that does have a slight turtleneck on it. So this is important to have so it cuts down on the wind that goes down your shirt. And believe me, it happens all the time here. So this is definitely a good base layer if you are going to somewhere that's going to be cold or windy. You do not, please, if you take nothing else from this video, do not layer with cotton. Cotton is great at absorbing sweat and wet, but it's not good at evaporating. It's just going to hold it and you're just going to be freezing cold, and that is the one thing you want to avoid. Once you get wet, you cannot go back and have a fun time in the cold. With this base layer, what we're wanting to do is lock the heat against our body. That's going to keep our own body heat in, and it's not going to be radiating out into the cold weather. So that was the base layer. Let's move on to the middle layers. Now this can be just a sweatshirt, puffer jacket, or I have this nice sweater from Maurice's, and this would suffice if I'm going out in, let's say, 40-degree weather here in southwestern Pennsylvania. This is the layer that you want to help lock in. You do not want it to be extremely tight onto your body. You want to have a little room between your layers that will help you give a little more insulation and keep the heat in. Also, a fleece jacket like my Columbia fleece is really nice over a thermal layer. What I usually do is when it is chillier in the 30s and 40s, I will put my Under Armour underneath a t-shirt or a long sleeve shirt, and then I will put my fleece over top of my t-shirt or my long sleeve shirt. Usually this is more than enough to keep me warm in the cool weather, especially in the fall. That way you have your legs and your tops. I feel like sometimes we forget to layer our legs and we just have a pair of jeans or a pair of pants or a pair of leggings. Don't forget to layer your legs. You can also have a pair of stockings, fleece lined stockings that would be really nice and warm too. If you're headed somewhere that's going to be really icy, windy, chilly, or if you're going to be somewhere where there's a lot of snow and precipitation, you're going to want a waterproof layer. So you can also just grab a rain jacket. Like I like this Columbia. I got this for $25 at Burke's Outlet. It has a hood with the strings that I can pull it tighter over my head. And then I can also Velcro it tighter around my wrist, so I won't worry about snow getting up in my jacket. Now this layer is not going to be providing much warmth. This is going to be protecting you from getting wet. And like I said earlier in this video, once you get wet, the game is over. You cannot go back from getting wet. And that's why I extremely advise against wearing any cotton layering at the moment when you're layering for fall and winter travel. Now let's move on to accessories. If you want to wear a scarf or a hat, which I do advise, especially if it's windy out, my ears freeze to death. Make sure that they're not huge and bulky, but give little to no warmth. You want a good warmth to weight ratio. You don't want a heavy, chunky scarf if it's going to give you little to no warmth. You want that to actually be functioning as a scarf and helping block out the wind and keep in some of your body temperature. Same with your hat. You don't want a hat that's not going to protect your ears. It doesn't come all the way over your ears. It's not going to protect your forehead, and it's going to leave you chilled to the bone. So let's move on to shoes. If you're going somewhere where there's going to be a lot of snow, and I'm talking feet of snow, you're going to want some waterproof boots. So I would grab some boots, make sure they have a zipper on them, so if you're wearing them through TSA, you can unzip them very easily to get them on and off. That way, if they're pulling like over the knee boots and you're jumping and struggling to get them off, you're not going to have that problem. So let me clarify with the waterproof, water resistant, weatherproof labels. You want to look for something that is going to be waterproof. This means you can completely submerge this item in water, and if it's a backpack, it'll be zipped up and no water will leak in around the zipper. If it says water resistant, weatherproof, or weather resistant, this is where it gets a little confusing. This may leak around the snaps and the zippers. It may say that it was made with waterproof materials, but the whole thing is not waterproof. So be careful with those labels, especially if you're getting something to protect you from the elements. So let's talk about packing, my favorite part of this video, obviously. Winter clothes take up a lot of room, but they are very squishable. So what you want to grab is some compression cubes, compression packing cubes, some space saver bags that I have in quite a few other videos, and that's what you want to pack your winter items in. You can use a vacuum and suck out the air on some of those space saver bags. Make sure you get the ones with the pump that you can take the pump with you and suck out all the air. That's going to save you a ton of room. Another thing to think about is your toiletries. You may want to just skip on your toiletries and buy them at your destination. That gives you a little bit more room to add another shirt, a sweatshirt, pair of socks, a pair of shoes. Or if all else fails, just take a little bit of money with you, go to a Goodwill or a Gabe. I don't think they have Gabes everywhere. A resale shop or a very cheap shop, and buy a couple sweatshirts, buy a jacket while you're at that destination, and then go back and redonate that item. This is especially a great tip if you do travel with just a personal item like we usually do. I do have to point this out though, a jacket usually does not count towards your personal item luggage, especially if you just tie it around your waist like you're a millennial mom like me walking through the airport. One tip, if you do have a fleece or a jacket of some kind and you do tie it around your waist, Travel Tips by Lori, check her out. She's the one who started me on my journey here. She shared a tip that you need to zip up your fleece the whole way before you tie it around your waist. That way you don't get the wings as you walk and almost drag the floor. And I've tried it and it works. I don't know why I haven't thought about this sooner, but go ahead and do that with your jackets. Another tip is to waterproof and buy some waterproofing spray before you leave. Spray those on your shoes or on your luggage before you leave your house. Make sure it is compatible with the type of material that your luggage or shoes are made out of. Another tip is to take a backpack instead of your rolling luggage. I know it's so much easier to take rolling luggage, but if you are from an area that gets a lot of snow and you just came back and you're trying to roll your luggage through the piles of snow, it's going to get dirty, it's going to get wet, and it is not going to be a good situation. If you can, if you're able to, grab a backpack, put a backpack on, put everything in your backpack. That way you don't have to worry about it getting wet. If you are short on space, try and wear your bulkiest items to the airport. It might get a little bit hot with a few layers on, but you can always take them off, especially when you get on the plane. Usually it's freezing on the plane and I am always cold, so I always have a jacket. I always have multiple layers on. If you can stand to wear your boots in the airport, try and wear your boots instead of packing them. That's going to give you a ton of room in your suitcase. Another random tip is, if you can, wear all black or dark clothing. As we all know, black absorbs the heat easier than lighter colors. Lighter colors reflect the heat. So if you're out and about and it's pretty chilly out, you're going to be warmer wearing a darker clothing. Darker clothing is easier to mix and match. So grab a capsule wardrobe to take with you in the winter so you can mix and match and you don't have to bring so many different items, especially if you just have one shirt that will only match one pair of pants. We are not packing that for winter clothing. So let's say that you're flying from an airport that has a lot of winter weather and you're flying into Florida. So you're flying from the northern United States to the southern United States. Well, obviously you're not going to pack as many layers because it's not going to be as cold. However, when you're flying back home, I have a couple tips to help on your journey back home once you've arrived. Make sure to grab some hot hands. And I'm saying this because we have experienced that we have flown to Florida, had a nice, great time. We left our winter jackets in the car because we could just run into the airport, no problem. However, when we came back home, it was in the negatives. It was at night. They had plowed the parking lot. The piles of snow were so high. The car was so cold. It took forever to warm up. So we were shivering and freezing, trying to get warm. And then on to top it off, we had to scrape and get our windshield wipers unstuck. And we had to hope that the car would back up over the pile of snow that they plowed behind us. So don't do this. Don't end up like us. Grab a little shovel. You can get any little shovel at a beach store if you're ever at the beach, and just keep it in your car, or get some type of little metal shovel so if you have to, you can dig yourself out of a snowbank that you've been plowed into. Another tip is to turn your car around back into your parking spot instead of pulling into it. That way you can have more momentum when you go up and over the snowbank. Always, 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 I don't care if it's going to snow or not, pull up your windshield wipers. Cannot tell you, even at home, how many times I've forgotten to pull my windshield wipers up and they are stuck and they're such a pain to dig out. Once you get off your plane and you're back home and you see outside, it is -3 degrees, the wind is howling, it is snowing. You don't want to go out there in your nice, easy, relaxing, thin clothing that you just came from sunny Florida, 70-80 degree Florida in. So make sure you do have your winter clothing handy that you can throw on in the airport bathroom, and grab a pair of hot hands. Now, I wish I would have done this the last time. Like I said, we came home and it was in the negatives and our car took forever to warm up. So grab some hot hands, and that way you can put some in your feet, in your shoes, you can put some in your gloves, and you can also hold it up against your neck so you can get nice and warm and not have that car be so cold and shivering and your teeth chattering. So if you take nothing else from this video, stay dry. Always stay dry, and make sure you have a change of clothes handy if you do get wet. What other tips did I miss? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please make sure to give this a thumbs up. That helps YouTube and the algorithm know that this is a good video that other people need to know about. And if you like any of my content, please make sure to hit the red subscribe button by my name. If it's red, you're not subscribed, and then if it is, I believe, gray, you are subscribed, and I thank you so much for that. Until next time, see you soon. Falls. 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 Not falls. Fall. Or if you're going somewhere that has a lot of wet snow. Yes, snow is wet. If you're going to